So I feel like some people feel that I am overcritical of Xbox, but I kind of look at it in a bit of a different light because I was around when they were having their rise to prominence. Like the Xbox 360 era, if you were around during that era, you know what Xbox is truly capable of. This system was a direct punch into the mouth of PlayStation, and Xbox 360 was the console that everyone wanted. It was the console that everyone wanted to play on. Now, as time went on, the PlayStation 3 managed to, get its legs and really be a competitive thing, but this was a competition. And I feel like it brought out the best in both PlayStation and Xbox. But as time has gone on, there's been lots of questions about Xbox. They don't seem to really want to compete anymore when it comes to companies like PlayStation. And you could say that going in their own lane might work out, but I kind of view it as when competition is stagnant or removed from an equation, then companies tend to kind of not worry and coast a bit more. Competition brings out the best in everyone. But when you look at Xbox in 2024, it's obviously a very different landscape. Things like Game Pass have completely changed the landscape of how Xbox does business. Console sales are down. They don't really seem to be gaining any steam. It seems like they've also capped out when it comes to Game Pass subscriptions. And now we're starting to see games from Xbox, major titles, come over to other platforms. Now, when it's multiplayer games like your Sea of Thieves and stuff like that, it's kind of whatever, grounded, like who really cares about that? But when you have a game like Indiana Jones, which is obviously Xbox's biggest game of 2024, coming to PlayStation 5 in spring of 2025, a few months after it releases on the Xbox Series platforms, you kind of got to raise some eyebrows. Now, there's been lots of rumors circulating that Xbox might be going even deeper into this with bigger titles and stuff like that. I've seen some reports out there. I'm not necessarily sure I completely agree with them. You got to remember when stuff was originally coming from Xbox to other platforms, many Xbox journalists were saying that Starfield was coming and launching alongside of the Starfield DLC onto PlayStation 5. That never happened, but you can obviously tell that Xbox does have at least some more plans to bring titles over to both PlayStation and the upcoming Nintendo platform. Well, in a recent speaking during a shareholders meeting, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, I hope I'm saying that right, actually commented on Xbox's business strategy. And it does seem to kind of lend credence to the fact that more Xbox games will be coming to other platforms. The quote is as follows: "We are bringing great games to more people on more devices. With our acquisition of Activision Blizzard King, which closed on October 2023, we've added hundreds of millions of players to our ecosystem. We now have 20 franchises that have generated over $1 billion in lifetime revenue. From Candy Crush, Diablo, and Halo to Warcraft, Elder Scrolls, and Gears of War. And with Xbox Cloud Gaming, we continue to innovate to offer players more ways to experience the games they love, where, when, and how they want. Finally, we brought 4 of our fan favorite titles to Nintendo Switch and PlayStation for the first time as we continue to extend our content to other platforms." So this is obviously something that they are a fan of when it comes to Xbox titles. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding when you're talking about things like Indiana Jones coming to PlayStation 5 a mere few months after it's coming out on Xbox. And I always go back to my main question with Xbox. What is your brand identity? Because I feel like you lack a brand identity. You have your hand in so many different things. Are you a third-party publisher? Because you do have all of these titles from companies like Activision and Blizzard and Bethesda and stuff like that because you bought these companies. So are you a third-party publisher who just wants these games on all platforms? Are you a Game Pass machine? Is that your mantra? Is that the most important thing to you where you focus on, where you give companies money to put their games onto Game Pass because these games they're probably not going to sell that. I know that there's data that says, oh, when a game goes on to Game Pass, more people buy it. I don't know. I would really have to see some of that data to really kind of confirm something like that, because I feel like most people, especially in the Xbox ecosystem, they just view Game Pass as the main way to play their games. Are you a cloud streaming service? Because that's another whole initiative that you're trying to push out there, where I don't need an Xbox console. I don't need your console. I can get, an Amazon Fire Stick and a controller for $70 and play Xbox games on my television without having your hardware. But you make new hardware. You just did the all digital system with the 2 terabytes in there. And it was kind of like, people didn't even realize that came out. I didn't realize that came out. And I study this stuff like every freaking day. So how is like, imagine a major console revision coming out to no fanfare whatsoever, to nobody talking about it. That is a problem. And I think a lot of this circles back to Xbox's marketing. When you have Phil Spencer doing this PR run saying that games like Indiana Jones aren't coming to other platforms, and then a couple of months later, it's announced that, hey, Indiana Jones is coming to other platforms, it definitely doesn't leave a good feeling with the consumer. Because once you lose consumer trust, it's very hard to get something like that back. And when you're doing games onto other platforms, they, especially video game systems, I'm not necessarily like, people think I get talking about like PC and mobile stuff. I don't care about that stuff. Like, that is a whole different world to me. I'm just talking about strictly on consoles. When you're putting your games onto other consoles, that does send mixed messages. Whether you intentionally think that or not, Xbox's marketing is the weakest thing in the world. And you could say whatever about the Xbox game division, but when the Xbox CEO, the CEO of Microsoft, I should say, who trumps over way above the Xbox CEO, and that they like what they see and they want to push this more, that's really what this boils down to at the end of the day. It's what they want. It's not necessarily what Xbox's game division wants to do, because you have to imagine that a lot of, higher ups within Microsoft are looking at the Xbox division and they're kind of like, what are we doing here? What exactly are we doing here? We're not exactly lighting the world on fire. We're not selling a lot of consoles. Game Pass sales have completely stagnated. So, and we already know that more games are going to come, with Call of Duties and stuff like that, with Indiana Jones. But that goes back to my marketing thing, because now there is that doubt for every single major Xbox game that gets announced. Every single one of them now has that. Perfect Dark has it. Fable has it. Gears of War E-Day has it. All of these games now have that question of, well, is this just coming out on Xbox? Or can I just play this on my PlayStation, which I already own, which then negates the need for an Xbox? And you might say, well, they're still making money on that. They're still making money on the game sales and stuff like that. And I guess they are. You would have to imagine they are, and that's why they're wanting to do this. But at what point do you realize that if that's what your goal is here, especially with the upcoming Nintendo system and the Nintendo hardware, if that's what your actual goal is, just to sell software, just to make money, what's the point in developing hardware? What's the point in being in the hardware race whatsoever? You could probably make more money just putting your games onto other platforms and probably being very successful with that. When you look at things like Xbox game sales, when was the last time you saw an Xbox game, as far as an Xbox console game, on the NPD sales, specifically for Xbox? They've created a culture of where if it's not on Game Pass, people take a second look. People are way more hesitant to pick something up on an Xbox. So I don't know, man. Really, for me, the biggest thing with Xbox is marketing. I think if you come out with a clear direction, if you say, this is what we are doing, Okay, get on board with this because this is what we're doing. These games are going to come to this system. These games are going to stay on here. But you've put so much doubt out there. And I really do kind of put this back on, Phil Spencer, Matt Ass, aka Matt Booty, Sarah Bond, for creating this culture with Xbox. And I feel like at some point in time, these people need to be held a bit accountable. And they have to realize that, maybe the mixed messaging is why people are leery about Xbox. Your biggest Xbox YouTube accounts are jumping off of bridge and stuff. Cold Eastwood, the homie Cold Eastwood, like, how do you think he feels? It's a weird thing, and I get it. Everyone wants the kumbaya. We can play any game on my platform of choice, but that doesn't work with console gaming. It doesn't. I'm sorry, it just does not work. You have to have competition in this field, or else everyone becomes stagnant. Everyone becomes stagnant, and that's just my opinion. If you disagree with me, that's cool too. But when Microsoft's CEO is talking about expansion, and they obviously are very happy with this expansion and want to continue this expansion, you kind of got to look at it from a bit of a different perspective. But let me know in the comments section down below, what do you think of all of this? Do you think that this is the move that Microsoft needs to make? Do you see Microsoft's marketing as a problem? Because I do. If I was Phil Spencer, bro, I would go in there and fire the entire marketing team. Just goodbye. We're starting from scratch because you guys don't do a good job. In my opinion, you don't. With so much mixed messaging, you do a terrible job of trying to, really invoke what Xbox is and what Xbox is all about. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. Give me your thoughts in the comments section. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.